Jerome Powell claims there'll be some loosening on crypto and banking regulation. Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. To the XRP holders, appreciate you guys as always. Looking across the market, as we are obviously, pretty much coming to the end, of Wednesday, we are seeing some green across the board at the same time, some coins in red. If you're looking at XRP, on the other hand, it's down only about 0.4% in USD comparative. Obviously, in Bitcoin comparative, it's also down about 0.8%. But the price of XRP is currently sitting above $2, holding above very strong. And you can see it's currently sitting at $2.08 as of recording this update. The market cap at 121.4 billion. So, compared to our last update, valuation has increased, and the 24-hour trading volume is almost at $3 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So look at this. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says tariffs may have a larger and more persistent impact on inflation than previously expected. And it kind of goes unsaid. If you really understand how tariffs work, you could see, why this would be a reality. But of course, right now, in terms of uncertainty, it's still quite there as of now, believe it or not. We actually did see the stock market have, 2 red consecutive days. And, crypto also, in a grand scheme of things, has seen a retracement. So what's really going on? It's pretty much, based off of, the external news that, you're hearing in regards to the tariffs. So obviously right now, a lot of countries are, working together, with one another, especially the U.S., to come up with some sort of solution. But as of now, nothing is set in place. Of course, the pause is only for 90 days. Obviously, after 90 days, there's a lot of questions being asked. What's really going to happen after that? We'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of time, and if more and more countries come together and make a resolution, I think we might overcome this. So again, now this makes me question, if this is really the case, is the next Fed meeting going to have a rate cut? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, because rate cut needs to happen. If the rate cut does not happen, I do expect market will once again see a shakeout. So yeah, let me know your personal thoughts on that. But look at, what smokes as Bank of England and Ripple. Additionally, the Bank of England partnered with the US-based blockchain startup Ripple to test an intra-ledger system designed to synchronize different payments in different stimulated RTGs using intra-ledger protocol. The test proved successful at processing cross-border payments between 2 RTG systems simultaneously. So of course, in terms of, the potential for the XRP ledger, you can really see how much potential it has. And, you can also understand why there's so much demand for XRP. And, best way to look at the demand factor is, how firms are reacting. Of course, digital assets are, being discussed so much. The demand factor for digital assets has increased, and from an institutional standpoint as well. And now, the best way to kind of look at it is the way, these ETFs filings are going on. And, the leader in terms of ETF filings is for XRP, with 10 ETFs filed, and I think more coming. So again, we clearly can tell what direction things are moving in. And moving forward, look at this. This has gotten me, quite interested, and I wanted to kind of share this with you guys. Big institutions like Swift are not being replaced by blockchain protocols. They're adapting to by incorporating them. Blockchains are messaging systems. ISO 20022 is a messaging standard. Swift is messaging network built on the standard, not a settlement platform. It simply facilitates communication between banks. Blockchain protocols like the XRP ledger and HBAR are ISO compliant, meaning they can speak the same language as Swift uses, and this just changes the game. These blockchains just happen to host tokens, but the real value comes from the activity and messaging on the ledger. The tokens derive their market value from everything being built, transferred, and recorded across the network. So no, Swift won't be replaced. It'll integrate blockchain protocols to evolve while still trying to sit in the middle of every transaction. Very interesting. But now let's take a look at, what's happening today with the price of XRP and the likes of Bitcoin and the broader market. So look what happened with the dominance index, guys. Let's actually take 10 seconds out of our time to really analyze and see what happened we saw the dominance go up to 64.2% for the first time since February 2nd. And what have I been saying? It's not a time to be getting excited for altcoins. And it's starting to really show that. You could see, we are looking at a 64% dominance. That is quite large. And if you see Bitcoin see a shakeout, let's say Bitcoin does not hold around the 38.2 and retests 82.7 or potentially drops below the 38.2 and goes back into the 0.50, guess what's going to happen to altcoins? Altcoins will go down much more compared to BTC. So that's something we need to keep in mind. Obviously, over the last few hours, we did see the price of Bitcoin see some sort of a bounce. You could see this for yourself. Obviously, we were sitting at the likes of 83 yesterday. We did see a little bit of a bounce since then up to 84.7, seeing a little bit of a minor pullback. Obviously, significant amount of resistance at this range. You want to see the price of BTC breaking above 86K, before we start, thinking about a 90K Bitcoin. But with that being said, let's analyze and take a look at what's happening with XRP's price. So I want to show you guys the XRP's price from the daily perspective, which of course is in the 38.2 fib zone right now. But I also want you guys to take a look at it from the hourly time frame. So let's give it a refresh live and understand what's really going on as of now. And we do see a daily, I think the daily candle close has already happened. Actually, no, it happens in the next, you could say, 20-25 minutes. But anyhow, that's not what we're here for. We're here to discuss what's really happening with XRP. So we did go below the 38.2 last night, down to $2.03. But look where we are now. Once again, reclaiming back above that key resistance. And now we are being supported by that key support line. And, it should really give you guys an understanding as to how important this support really is for XRP. So far, so good. Obviously, still in this accumulation pattern. Again, if you take a look at it from the daily perspective, you can really understand, how the price does not look as bad as a lot of people, make it seem like. Obviously, we're still in this accumulation pattern within the 38.2. Obviously, I know people want to see that breakout, but one step at a time. You cannot, undermine this in terms of the dominance as well as, what's happening with BTC. Let me know down below what you guys think. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX and peace.